How are you feeling?
Well, you're looking good anyway, that's the main
thing. He looks good on camera again.
I feel okay. I mean, that's a bit of a myth about Parramatta.
Oh, you love the Eels. Turn it up, Rabs.
Okay.
Well, speaking of the Eels, let's have a look at the 17-man squad we believe that Brian Smith will utilise tonight. Starting with their fullback, Brett Hodgson. He's been in superb form since joining from Western Suburbs. One of the best support players in the game. Has seen him cross for 15 tries this season. On 1 week, Luke Burt, former Newcastle junior, in fact, and I don't think he'll be overawed by tonight's game. In fact, he made his debut here back in 1999 in front of 104,000. This 19-year-old, the youngest player in action tonight, the boy from Wee War, Jamie Lyon, has had a superb season, very robust, only Parramatta to play all 28 games. David Bielecki, one of the most improved players in the game, and that was rewarded this year with a New Zealand Test jersey. On the other wing, Jason Moody. Special satisfaction for Jason today. He's a former Newcastle player, missed the 1997 grand final win through injury. At 5'8", it is the prodigal son. After a 5-year absence, Michael Butner returned to Parramatta. Very experienced player, played over 100 first-grade games for them. At half-back, playing his last game before retirement, Jason Taylor, the greatest point scorer in NRL history, in fact, rugby league history, 2,107 next to his name. At lock forward, Daniel Wagon, the most versatile member of this squad, is one of the stars for Queensland in their win in this year's State of Origin series. Number 12 is the second rower, Ian Hindmarsh, the elder brother, a workaholic, highly involved. He will play wide to the right in attack. And here's the younger brother, Nathan Hindmarsh. What a superb season he has had. He'll play wide to the left, immense upper body strength, and does have the ability to go all the way. Number 10, Michael Vella, is a former winger, and hasn't he made a great transition since coming off the flank into the front row, now a representative player, and they'll be looking to utilise that speed. The number 9 shirt is Brad Drew, former Penrith player, has been one of the standouts for Parramatta this season. Tremendous out of dummy half in the first 30 minutes. And the front rower and captain, Nathan Kalis, the youngest captain to captain a grand final side since Craig Young did so at St George in 1979. Tough, uncompromising. On the bench, PJ Marsh. I thought he had one of his best games off the bench last week. He'll come on and play in the dummy half area, but can also obviously play in the half-back role. Number 15, well, this shows how strong the Parramatta side is. Andrew Ryan, played State of Origin this year, can't make the run on side. Boy from Dubbo playing great football as well. Number 16, Alex Chen, a real success story for Parramatta this year. He's only played 10 first-grade games, has a full-time job, and has fitted all in, and that has all been justified by this performance. And number 17, David Solomona, had 47 minutes for the Roosters in last year's grand final. He's the only grand final experience in this Parramatta team. Wonderfully skillful player, and he'll be a big plus for them this afternoon. But let's have a look in depth at a couple of these guys, starting with the buy of the year, Brad Drew. Great ability out of dummy half to run at 1 or 2 defenders, then veer across to open up something on the outside. Wonderful season.
I like the way that he keeps the defence line at 6s and 7s by running with the ball in both hands. You really don't know which way you're going to go. Combine that with his kicking game, he has just been an exceptional player.
Yeah, very hard to defend against, isn't he, when he gets out of dummy half like this? Players, he's looking to create a gap. He's looking for someone to run out of that line so he can run through it and then draw and hit his supports out wide. And, of course, his short kicking game is just fantastic. Here it is again. This is typical of what Brad Drew can do today. The Newcastle Knights, Michael Hagan will have worked all week with drills to try and contain that. You saw the halfback sprinted out of the line there. That's what he's looking for. And that's how Brad Drew gets through and sets up tries like that.
It's been a real success story, the rotation. PJ Marsh, Brad Drew, Daniel Irvine, of course. I mentioned the support play going through the team card, Gus, of the fullback Brett Hodgson. You coach Terry Lamb. He's probably acknowledged as the best support player we've seen in ages and ages. This bloke is starting to press.
He certainly is. Brett Hodgson, he backs up all these forwards, knows exactly what they're going to do. Terry Lamb always had a philosophy. He said, if I just jogged up the middle of the field, eventually the ball had to come back to me. The other thing that Terry Lamb had in his favour is you highlight Hodgson here running off Kalis, who shows some good footwork through the ruck. He knows what his teammates are capable of. He knows what foot they step off. He knows what hand they carry the ball in. He knows where the break is likely to come. When he looks at the defence and his teammate, he knows what is possible. And all of a sudden, he can be in the right place at the right time. There he is again, a pass and a half away from the ball. But he knows there's an opportunity as soon as the ball came to the short side that he should be backing up through the middle of the field. And that's very much like Terry Lamb. And as you say, he scored plenty of tries for this Parramatta team and been effective with his support play from the back.
All right, let's move to the forward pack. Nathan Hindmarsh, I think, along with Ben Kennedy, quite coincidentally, after they were dropped from State of Origin, have been the 2 form forwards of the year.
it's almost been like an injection for both of them. I mean, it was probably the biggest favour that they've been done all year, because it's more than coincidental. I think that both their form really went to a new platform after they were axed from State of Origin 1. And Hindmarsh, of course, is one of the key players here for Parramatta tonight. That's him in another one of these runaway tries of his. A little bit of Bob McCarthy about him, I suppose, in the minds of some of the older followers of the game. Here he is again into space, and he's got the speed of a three-quarter. And, of course, Kennedy on the other side of the equation, he suffered a similar fate to Nathan Hindmarsh, and I thought his form really rocketed back to where we know it should be all the time.
That's one of the most effective parts of this Parramatta team. I mean, in the old days where a second rower went to dummy half, you knew nothing was on. He was just going to pass the ball. But these fellas, Ryan, Hindmarsh, can get out of there and actually create opportunities for themselves. All very, very skillful.
Well, the skill level is tremendous, and the leader of this forward pack, Paul, is Nathan Kalis. He's not just a Parramatta captain, he's a test captain at a very young age.
He's a wonderful player, Nathan Kalis, and he's got better as the season's gone on. He's really adapted to his captaincy role now. He's had it for a couple of years, and he's just a wonderful leader, the Kiwi. And look, whether it's down the other end of the park or up his own end of the park, he likes the hard stuff, loves to take it up, he loves to lead. He says to the players, just by his actions, come on boys, watch me go, follow me. And he does it time and time again. And he's also introduced late in the year an offload into his game, which is really good. Good skill work. Obviously, they work a lot on their skills there at Parramatta through Brian Smith. And Nathan is setting up tries like this, and he's just a great player.
Yeah, it's a very well-balanced side. In fact, they won the minor premiership after 26 domestic rounds by a whopping 5 points. They have proven themselves to be the best team this year. We'll see if they can go all the way very shortly. We'll take a break now and be back and have a look at their opponents, the Newcastle Knights.
In tonight's edition of National 9 News.
Ansett hopeful the government will help it fly beyond Christmas. The first aid finally reaches Afghanistan, and the Knights relax before tonight's grand final.
National 9 News tonight.
All right, Bill.
Yes, sir, mate. No, Bill.
With Telstra, the more numbers you put on one bill, the more you can save. Simply put your full-service home phone, your mobile, or your internet together. To bring down your bill, call 132200 for details.
One of the best things I did here while I've been here at ADFA was definitely the adventure training. From the bottom, doesn't look that far. Go at the top, you look out, it's like, and you go to take the first step, your legs shaking as anything, you step out into the ledge, and you just get going, and it's just such a good feeling. Yes, love this. Learning how to lead and get confidence, this place is it. It's great.
The Kelly Country Factory for tailor-made. Made to measure men's or ladies' suits within 24 hours. Never have tailor-made men's or ladies' suits been so affordable. A huge selection of suits, blazers, coats and wedding outfits. Free corporate quotes, ring 9516 4477. Wrinkle-free ladies' suits, $99. Leather jackets from $139. Ladies' suits, $99. Ready-made suits, $99. Kelly Country for made to measure, open 7 days.
It all began with this. Wake up now. DCE presents Rod live. Performing hits. After hits. After hits. The first show is sold out. Now a new show at the Entertainment Centre, Thursday, January 31. Tickets are on sale now. Don't miss out.
MasterCard is giving away a week on Daydream Island free for you and 9 friends, plus 48 Queensland weekend breaks in the MasterCard Summer Escape promotion. Register each week, then watch National 9 News on Sunday night to see if you're one of this week's lucky winners.
Well, I can't think of any other place where you get your tertiary degree paid for, you get all your HECS and all your healthcare paid for as well. I mean, to me it's made a big difference, you know, to me and my family.
For Tess and Claire McLeod, being sisters hasn't been easy.
Making me nervous. Get on the horse.
Now, will Alex come between them?
Anything happening there?
McLeod's Daughters, 7:30 Wednesday on 9.
Here's Luke Burt bending off with one arm. Oh, what a ball! What a ball from Burt! That's the Burt ball! Ho, ho, ho! El Masri. Oh, beautiful pass! Darren Smith is over! Look at Campbell bobbing and ducking around. What a ball! Oh, freaky pass! He's gone for the kick back. He's gone for the banana. Ball. Beautiful hand from Bunga to get over. Whoa! Oh! Oh! Minicello! Great take. Inside for John. Johns is over. Maybe God has come to Marathon. Darren Smith. Sherman's over. Right. Oh, good work there by Ferris. A chance here for daylight. He's over. Wagon. Oh, beautiful ball. Solomona. Wagon delivered a magic ball.
It's been quite a season, hasn't it? South Sydney are back, a good State of Origin series, and tonight we have the decider with the Knights up against the Eels. And guys, we've gone through the Parramatta side. Let's have a look at Newcastle. And Chief, you've been around the camp. You were there before the game in 97. Have you liked the atmosphere and the vibe you picked up? As we have a look at their team, Robbie O'Davis at fullback. We'll come back to you in a moment, Chief. Won the Clive Churchill medal back in 1997, still one of the premier custodians in the competition. Number 2, Tamana Tahu. Taken a little while to come back from a calf operation, but he's ready to explode. Still remains one of the best young players in the NRL competition. In the centre, Matthew Gidley, who too had a slow start to the season, but in recent weeks has been outstanding. Very quick feet, beautiful hands, and he'll look to get heavily involved. Mark Hughes, well, he's the safety net for this Newcastle back line. Still an underrated player, but he did break into State of Origin ranks this year and played all 3 games for New South Wales. On one wing, the Mad Dog. He's in rare form at the moment, making plenty of barnstorming runs, and I'll be looking for him to come in and play as an extra forward. At 5'8", Sean Rudder. Been a great year for Sean Rudder, has been involved in all 28 games. Mr. Versatile has played all over the park and done so well under pressure. At half-back, well, it's probably suffice to say Andrew Johns is the premier player in the world. He's the best, and he's not a one-man band, but they do play better when he is on the park. Blocking the scrum is the number 13, Billy Peden, in some ways the heart and soul of this Newcastle line-up. In fact, he started the 97 grand final at hooker, and he'll look to cause plenty of problems again this evening. Second row, Ben Kennedy in the number 12 jumper, as we pointed out, along with Nathan Hindmarsh. Had great second half of the season, one of the most athletic forwards in the game, and can get plenty of tries. Steve Simpson is the other second row, and he's really stood up to be counted this year. He's the only player for Newcastle who has been on the running side for all 28 games. Wonderful back rowers build. And what about the build on this man? Matty Parsons, a number 10. I thought last week was one of the best front rowers performances I've seen all season. Took it up against the Sharks all afternoon. At hooker is Danny Badiris, the current test rake. His battle with Brad Drew will undoubtedly be one of the highlights in tonight's game. And the other front rower, young Josh Perry, he was here in 1997, or at the grand final in 97, as a 16-year-old. He said, I'm going to be in the grand final in 2001. He's lived up to that, a fine young prospect. Number 14, we're not talking young here, we're talking 32, but we're talking experience. Paul Marquardt, 230 first-grade games, and this will be the final one for Pepe as well. Number 15 is Clinton O'Brien, former State of Origin player, was a star for Queensland in the 1997 series, and he's had an impact off the bench throughout second half of this season, as to Glenn Grief. He plays his last game for Newcastle tonight, moves to South Sydney next year, and he will get plenty of go forward tonight. And the final man is Daniel Abraham, young player who came in for the injured Darren Albert, and he's a player of the future. Former fullback, now moved to the back row, and there are high hopes for Daniel Abraham. And their coach is Michael Hagan. And Chief, I do have to ask you, you've been around the guys, how's it felt?
It's felt really good. You can imagine, again, it's been another massive week. The hype and all the media attention's been really tough on them. The younger guys have been surprisingly calm, really took it in their stride. And that's why I think it's so important, the fact that we've had experienced blokes there, because by the time Thursday come, the grand final breakfast, they really haven't had time to concentrate in the game. That's the guys who'd been there before to tell them not to panic. It's going to be okay. You've got Friday, you've got Saturday to settle down. But all in all, grand finals, I believe, are won by passion and the reason why you're out there. And again, there's a similar field with Newcastle. We were underdogs last time. We're underdogs this time. The start of the week was a little bit different. We were just happy to be there. Maybe we can do it.
Well, Paul, all the talk for Newcastle Newcastle seems to be centred around Andrew Johns, and that really doesn't seem fair. They're not a one-man band. They've got wonderful talent. Let's have a look at some of those, starting with Johns.
I mean, it's hard not for us as commentators to eulogise about how good Andrew Johns is, but, you know, he is a magnificent player, and as I say, he's the best player in the world. There's nothing that he can't do in this game. His kicking game is fantastic. He defends like a second rower. He can sprint like a centre if he has to, and he's very tough. I mean, you know, but if the Newcastle team's a cooking pot, he's the main ingredient. There's lots of nice herbs and spices amongst the team as well. Bit of thyme, bit of turmeric. I mean, Mark Hughes, Matt Gidley, Tamana Tahu, they're all very, very good players. Adam McDougall.
Stay out of the kitchen, will you?
I'm hungry. Oregano.
Well, Newcastle have saved their best until last, and that probably applies to a couple of their individual players as well, Ray. Matthew Gidley, I would think, falls into that category.
Yeah, I suppose so, Pete, although his form's been rather up and down. He had that long period out with that broken leg, which he suffered, ironically, against Parramatta in the pre-season. And it was against Parramatta that he got knocked out of the 1997 grand final through injury as well. So Parramatta's been a bit of a nemesis for Matthew Gidley. His form, though, has fluctuated. Nobody admires Matthew Gidley's ability more than I do. And if he does strike peak form, Parramatta's in for one hell of a night.
Well, this is what he is very good at, is taking on defenders. As I said, he's got great feet. This time it's Andrew Johns taking advantage of that tremendous athleticism. And I've got to say that I'm a huge fan of Ben Kennedy. He has got to go on the tour in what I've seen in the last couple of months, Gus.
Very impressed with Ben Kennedy last week against the Sharks. I thought he typified the whole emotion of the evening for Newcastle and the enthusiasm of this team. He's a player who's what I call a pump-up player. He plays on adrenaline. He plays on energy. He's constantly talking to his teammates, and he does it by action. Onto the ball quickly, kicking through, scoring a try. You'll see the passion when he scores. He'll jump up and celebrate. If a teammate scores, he does the same thing. And in a close contest last week, which I thought was very typical of a game that Newcastle could lose, I thought it was Ben Kennedy that held them together and got them the result in the end.
There's been a little bit of a doubt at times about the defensive qualities of this Newcastle team, but I think we should point out that in both of their finals matches, they haven't had a point scored against them in the second 40 minutes, and that is absolutely fantastic. They can score points, there's no doubt about that, Chief, and it does start, as it does for Parramatta with Brad Drew on so many occasions, with Danny Badiris. His work out of dummy half is instrumental tonight.
Danny Badiris, I think, has been, well, he got to start in the Australian side, but he's improved so much from his dummy half work, his passing game. But I've got to say, we've got three great defenders in our team. One's Gary Johns, and the other one is this bloke, and Ben Kennedy. His defence is fantastic. He comes out of the line, and it's just tremendous to have a hooker who can tackle like that.
He actually attacks a little bit differently to Brad Drew. He stays much closer to the ruck, trying to take advantage of a circled player there, lazy from marker. So despite the fact Drew goes wide going across field, Badiris probably more dangerous up the middle of the ruck.
It's a nice comparison. As you say, Drew hunts wide with players on the edges. Badiris gets in behind to play the ball with the tight spot, and that's where O'Davis and Johns can follow him, and they link up pretty well around there. He certainly does head straight upstream, Danny Badiris.
Yeah, more than that, though. I think he has to do it for 80 minutes, whereas Drewy does it for an average of 52 minutes, and then they bring on this other bloke that's lightning out of dummy half, PJ Marsh. I think that's one of the real big problems that not only Danny Badiris has got, but Newcastle has got, containing the mix of Drew and Marsh.
Okay, well, that's difficult to contain. What about the Mad Dog? If there's one certainty this week, it was going to be that Adam McDougall was not going to be 100% early in the week. I've got no doubt he'll be 100% tonight, and he has been in barnstorming form.
Yeah, the old grand final flu got him, but yeah, he is a magnificent player, isn't he, Chief? And you've played with him. I mean, he must be inspirational.
The leg drive.
I think he is our X factor. Every time he has a small injury going into a big game, he's a big game specialist. He always performs. But you're right. His leg strength, particularly when he's running from dummy half, makes a big difference in our forward pack.
Just going to say, going back to Andrew Johns, you say he's a one-man team. He's only a one-man team when he's out. When he's in, they become a 17-man team because everyone else grows a leg.
Yeah, and one other thing, Sterlo, I'm worried about you. The last person to cut the Chief off finished up in hospital.
Mate, he retired from rugby league with a headache. Like,
very edgy.
Don't start on this one. I'll tell you what, Parramatta, you work the shoulder, a little bit of a dicky shoulder, you pull the pin.
Very edgy, these two. Very edgy.
Let's have a tip and a quick reason why you think the team will win. Chief, you're obviously going Newcastle. Why?
I'm obviously going Newcastle. Look, this Parramatta team is the best unit I've seen in a long, long time. Statistics show that. But it's all about, as I said before, the reason why. Plenty of passion for Newcastle. Go the Knights.
Gus?
Even money bet, one day, 3 moments in time. I hope it's Parramatta. I think they've been the best team all year.
I think Parramatta people, I'll tell you what, I think they've got to start well. They've got to get out of the blocks and put 10 or 12 on early. I think if Newcastle are only 4 or 6 behind with 10 to go, they can win it. But I'm stick with the Eels.
Yeah, I think it's Parramatta. I've already preempted what I was going to say. The Drew Marsh factor, I really think it's very important. And right across the park, I don't know where you attack them. Parramatta for mine as well.
I'm going for the Eels because they've been the best team all year and they invariably win. We'll take a break now. We're going to collect our thoughts. Stay with us. Plenty more happening live here at Stadium Australia.